Great. Well, lovely to see everyone this morning. And I know some of you have your cameras off, and if you prefer that, that's no problem. You might, just to say though, benefit from meeting the other people in the session. So at some point it might be good to turn on and just see what other festival people are around the county, just to put some faces to the names. It might be useful for your own network. I know that the funding environment is always very challenging and competitive, and it takes a lot of work and resources to apply, and we do always appreciate that. We always do have an independent panel assess this information. So just for your own sake, Sheila and I present to that panel, but it's all independently facilitated and transcripted, and just for your benefit to know that there is always independent advice and the decisions are made independently. So so it is very transparent. Because I do know it's very competitive, and I do know as festivals and people who provide really fabulous points of interaction with culture and the arts in the county, you work really, really hard, and that, often the remuneration doesn't match the input and the energy. And so thank you for that really important energy that you give to your local areas and your work and your practice. It's really significant for us to be able to support that in any way we can, and you're very welcome here today. So with that in mind, I'm going to pop to my next session, but I leave you in the capable hands of Sheila and Helen. And as I say, if you do have questions at any point, the chat, or when Helen opens for questions, that's the best way to get it. Okay. So lovely to see you all, and thanks for coming along, and very best with your projects.
Thanks, Jenny.
No problem.
Okay, it's over to you, Helen, if you want to give a few words just about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Sheila. Hi, lovely to meet you all. My name is Helen Meany. I do some work for Wicklow Arts Office, so I may have met some of you before in various contexts in Wicklow. But I'm an arts consultant and coach. Have a background in arts journalism. I'm a theatre critic. I was literature advisor with the Arts Council for 7 years, and I still do some consultancy work with their literature team. And over the years in that time, I assessed funding applications for festivals, for literary festivals, but also festivals that had a literature component, but were across all the art forms. And I've also done some assessment of that for Dublin City Council Arts Office and Fingal Arts Office and Offaly. And so I'm very experienced at being the person who reads applications and then assesses them and decides on their feasibility and their potential. But the other thing I have to add is that I myself am the curator and producer of a small festival called Classics Now, which is coming up in 2 weeks' time, and for which I am funded by the Arts Council under their festival investment scheme. And so we'll be presenting our 4th edition of that festival in 2 weeks' time. So I know all about what it's like to run a small festival on a tight budget. I also know what it's like to apply for funding and how demanding that can be, particularly the Arts Council funding applications, and all of the supporting documentation you need to gather, all of the thinking about budgets, about timelines, project planning, and I know the disappointment if you don't get as much as you apply for. So I really know this process from both sides. So I hope that what I'll be able to share with you will be based on my own experience, but also in knowing what makes an application really compelling, what makes an application ineligible simply because somebody forgot one crucial bit of either information or supporting documentation, and that's really unfortunate. So today we're going to help you to make sure you have all those bits in place, everything you need before you start writing the application. So when it comes to uploading it, you've got it all there, and you've given it the best shot you can. So this is going to be really practical, and we're going to go through the application form for the Wicklow Festival funding, so that, you know, by the time you look at it on your own, you'll have already seen it here with us, and the things that will arise as you're looking at it alone, I hope that we will have addressed here today. And we will have time for questions at the end, because I may leave out something that you're worried about or you don't think is fully clear, and I hope that I'll be able to answer. If I'm not able to answer, Sheila most definitely will. So that's it. It's almost like a practical workshop of how to apply for this funding. So I hope it's useful. And please, as I say, do ask anything at the end that we haven't covered. So I think we're going to dive straight in, actually, and look at this form. I've seen much worse application forms, I have to say, in my life. I mean, I've seen some really daunting ones, particularly for international funding, which, you know, when you look at it, you just want to lie down in a darkened room. But this form, I think, is really clear. But so we'll just, I think, kick off. Sheila, let's go straight into it.
Absolutely. I was just going to give a little bit of background on the award first, just to start off, to give a bit of context. So here we go. There we go. So the arts funding scheme is integral to our broader efforts in County Wicklow to encourage excellence in the arts and to engage communities in artistic endeavours. As you all may know already, we have 3 schemes. We have the Artists Award, the Artists and Communities Collaboration Award, and the Arts Festival Award, which is what we're here today to explore. Applications are welcome from all art forms: film, music, visual arts, theatre, dance, literature, architecture, animation, performance, circus, traditional arts, music and drama, and etc. And and so the Festival Award supports the development and programming of arts festivals in the county. It seeks to financially assist festival development plans and programs for the coming year. It covers the production and commissioning of new work for the festival. It covers the engagement of professional artists or ensembles as part of the festival program. It covers the implementation of specific measures targeting audience development or public engagement, and it covers the development of new strategies or approaches to the delivery of the festival. It's important to flag that the maximum funding available is €10,000 under this scheme. I suppose it's very important to outline from the outset what is not eligible under this scheme. The administration costs, non-arts festival events, for-profit or fundraising projects, competitive initiatives, entertainment expenses, festivals which do not take place within County Wicklow, insurance costs where it's more than 10% of the awarded amount. This is an addition. We've added this is a new addition this year based on feedback received last year. And obviously, we appreciate the cost of insurance is significantly increased. Capital improvements, festival projects or programs where the majority of the cost is related to equipment hire. Equipment hire can be included, but it can't be the majority of the spend. And projects that focus primarily on community rather than artistic outcomes. So, as Helen said, we're going to use the basis of our form this year for this kind of clinic. We felt it was just the best way to kind of break it down and get into the details and to identify key common pitfalls. And so with that in mind, all applications must be made online. A link to this the application form is available from our website. You select apply online, and you next to the awards that you're choosing to apply for, and you hit submit. You'll need to enter all the relevant details and questions in the form. It's very important that you use the budget template that is supplied by us and available to download from our website. This is a very key pitfall we see every year. And whilst the budget template is editable, it's the format, it's ensuring that we get the necessary information for our assessment panel. And then finally, please make sure to upload your supporting documentation, and this includes an up-to-date CV. It includes examples of works, including images, reviews, letters of support, treatments, draft scores, etc., etc., whatever you deem to be the most important supporting information. And with that, we are going to move straight into the form, and I'm going to hand you over to Helen in just a moment. Okay, over to you, Helen. Thank you.
Great. We're looking at, I hope you can all see this. We're looking at the very beginning of the form, section 2. Section 1 is just your name and so on. So we're going into section 2, background. This is important information for the assessors in the Arts Office to know. Oh yes, actually, we probably should have mentioned that to look at the guidelines very carefully before you actually start to fill this in. So the year established, that just gives a sense that, is this a repeat application of an existing festival, or is it a brand new? Is it a proposal for a brand new festival? The number of committee members, you may have an informal committee, and it's again just to give a sense of how many people are involved in this festival, and that's you can just give a number. You don't have to go into any detail about them. Next one, charitable status. If you're a new festival or a very recently established festival, you won't have charitable status. So because you haven't got to that stage in the development of the festival. So if applicable is the key there. So if it's not applicable, just put NA, and then you don't need to think about that at all. And if you do have your charitable status number, you just put in the number there. Very straightforward. This one is very useful information for the assessors to know. So is it a multidisciplinary festival, covering a number of art forms, or is it actually, say, a dance festival only? And so again, tick as many. You could be dance and young adults and children, for example. Just so if you're going to have any events in any of the art forms that are targeted towards an audience of children or teenagers or young adults, you just tick that as well as your main art form. So if you're a multidisciplinary festival, you may tick maybe 5 or 6 of these. That's absolutely fine. There's no limit. There's no upper limit. That's it. Or if you literally are just one, just tick 1. Just in case you think, well, actually our art form isn't represented there. I mean, it's a pretty long list, but just in case there's something, I mean, there's even digital arts there, which is quite an open, broad category. But if there isn't, you add your art form there. Limit 5 words, by the way. Just notice that. If you go over the limit in any of these boxes, you won't be able to type any more. It'll just cut you off. So if you have more to say, you may have to edit a little bit as you go.
Yeah, I might just adjust that. I think 5 minutes is a little bit unrealistic. I suspect that's a little edit that I'll have to do in the background. Sorry about that. But yeah, we want to keep it concise. It's not the space really for describing what the art form is.
No, I think 5 words is probably enough, actually. But then next, obviously, very important piece of information. When is the festival? When are you planning? Just give it your dates. If at this point in the year you're not entirely sure, like if it's a weekend festival and you haven't decided, are you going to open maybe on the Thursday night? Are you going to wait till Friday? Just give the approximate. We can go back. This isn't holding you to anything. It's just to give an approximate sense of when the festival will be. Now this is important. Section 3. Please provide a brief description of your festival. Now, you've got 150 words there, so don't worry. It's not along, it's not an essay. It's really kind of almost like a summary of what will your festival be? What kind of festival is it? Does it involve live performance? Is it all online? What, will you have, what kind of venues are you going to be in? Where are you going to be? Who is it for? That kind of thing, as succinctly as you can. Now, this one is more detailed. The specific arts activities within your festival program. So let's say it's a theater, let's say it's a theater festival or theater and dance, performing arts. You would break it down into what kind of performances they're going to be, who they're for. If you can, at this point, I know it's early in the year, but if you can name some of the artists, and they don't have to be confirmed, but just say, we are inviting X, Y, and Z. Name your theater companies or maybe a director, even name your cast if you know some of the actors, and give a sense of, is it going to be in the evening? Is it going to be at daytime? Is it going to be for kids? Is it going to be for a wide audience? Are you focusing on older adults? Whatever your kind of aims, the aims you have for the artistic program in your festival, that all goes in there. And you will see that you've got 2,000 words there as your maximum. So there's plenty of space. Because I know sometimes when you name, say performing arts companies and you give their titles, that can take up a lot of words. But I think 2,000 words gives you enough space there. Okay. Let's see now. When responding to this question, oh yes, refer to the assessment criteria in the guidelines. Okay. Detail any professional arts assistants or professional practitioners. Well, I think we've mentioned that, what your artists, your practitioners there. I know sometimes people are not sure about that. That really means the artists that you want to ask to be part of your festival. Written confirmation of each participant. Yeah, well, I'm going to come back to the supporting documentation in a bit. But if you know for sure that, let's say, we'll use Cush Came Dance Company, just say, and you're going to name them in the box 3.2, you will need in your supporting documentation to have a letter from, say, Cush Came to say, we are delighted to be part of your festival. So you need, if you're saying that the artist is confirmed, you're going to need evidence. If you're saying you would like to invite X artist, then you don't have to worry about letters of confirmation. So there's a distinction between your aspirations. I want to work with Druid Theatre Company and invite them to Wicklow. That could be your aspiration, and then it could be that they say, I'm sorry, we're too busy. So, and that's for the assessor, there's a clear distinction between someone is definitely confirmed and someone who you're hoping to invite. Okay. Now, this is important about audience, engaging with your audience. So from the funder's point of view, they want to support the artistic aims of your festival, but they also want to make sure that you get an audience, because that is the point. How does this festival get seen by people? How do people know about it? Who are you hoping your audience to be? So in a sense, it's kind of part of the purpose of your festival is to bring your artists to an audience in Wicklow and beyond Wicklow. So this is one worth looking at, the assessment criteria. So how do you propose to engage your audience? And you will get some guidelines there about how do you do that. So you can say by promoting the festival online, by communicating through online channels, through print media, PR. How are you going to tell people about your festival? That's really a basic question. How is an audience going to discover you? How are they going to find out about you? You can be doing brilliant work and not enough people know about it. So this is a really important question about your communication, your public communication, and how you get your profile out there, how your festival becomes visible. So I would pay attention to that answer. It's important. Again, this is a related area. Again, pay attention to the assessment criteria. Please describe your target audience. Now, for some people, that's a really straightforward answer. For other festivals, it's a mixture of things. It could be that you want different demographics at different events. Again, it depends. Are you hoping to attract children and families to your event? Are you hoping to attract people of all ages and you're not worried about that? Are your arts events suitable for children? Are your arts events more targeted to retirees, mature adults, older people? And if they are, how are you going to reach those people? So this is very important. It's a bit of, in a way, this thinking has to be done by you before you actually sit down and fill out this form. So when you're thinking about your festival, whether it's a new festival or a festival that's been up and running for a few years, but maybe you want to change your audience slightly or invite a different kind of audience, that's where you get to write that. Again, as succinctly as you can. Now, this is important information for the Arts Office. If you're an existing festival and you had a festival in previous years, in 2022 and 2023, if you can, if it's all possible, please give your audience numbers. And it could be that you had quite a few online events, particularly as we were coming out of COVID, certainly in 2022. You may not have had any live audience at all. You may have been completely virtual as a festival, but you must count. You must give your numbers so that the assessors get a sense of the scale of your audience and the level of interest and engagement by the public. So these are very important boxes. Now, projected audience figures. If you know your audience figures from last year, you can project similar. You could give the same, or maybe if you're ambitious to expand your audience, you project your audience at a higher level, and that's always a good thing. It's always good to be seen to be wanting to expand your audience. I mean, that's kind of the purpose of having a festival, is to attract more audience or as many people as you can. So let me see. Sorry, I'm just seeing a question here in the chat. Okay. You can see this message. Oh, good question. Well, the elements supported by the grant, I would say. The application form doesn't really make a distinction. So I would say, given that you're applying for this grant, I would give the audience figures for events in your festival that were supported by this grant, or specifically the arts events in your festival. Say you have other events in your festival that are more community oriented or educational, but this is focusing on your artistic program. So if you can narrow it down to that, so much the better.
And if I can add to that, if I may, Helen, yes, absolutely, I concur. That's exactly it. However, if you felt the overall total figure supports your application anyway, you could find a place within the application to note that. Do you know what I mean? So it could be the funding that you've received in the past from us, or hopefully into the future, was 20% of your total audience. You know, that total audience, that figure is also very impressive and a value for us to know. But in those boxes, yeah, it should be relating to the program that you're seeking support for.
Thank you. Great, thanks, Sheila. Yes, exactly. So, good. Yeah, this I think is pretty straightforward. If you're providing online events, tick which is relevant to your approach. Yes, because some of them are mixed, as in they're both live and streamed. Some people do that. Some people pre-record, say a literary interview or conversation. You can even pre-record it a week or two before and then release it during your festival. So this is, again, to give the assessors an understanding of the form of your festival. Is it hybrid? Is it fully live? I think because of the pandemic, we got so used to things being in hybrid form or even fully virtual. But this is it's very useful for the assessors to know this. And then if it's some other combination, just put in other. If other, please specify. Just put NA if you don't need to say anything extra there. I mean, this 4.4 is important, but it's a summary. So you could use, because it's only 50 words, you could use a few bullet points here. How will you promote and document your festival? I mean, they're two separate questions in a way, or they're related, but promote and document. You could be, if it's online, you could be recording events, and then those recordings are part of your documenting of the festival. If it's a performing arts festival and you're talking about taking photographs, having reviews, inviting press, it just depends on the nature of your of the festival. But how will you promote it? I mean, that really applies to every kind of festival. So say, you will promote it through your festival website. You will promote it using social media. You will promote it using an e-bulletins to your subscribers. Whatever it is that you're going to do there, just list it. If you're going to hire a professional publicist, put that in. That would be probably for a larger festival. That you would have the budget, or you would like to do that. Bring in an arts publicist, and then you would pay them a fee as a contractor. And if you're in a position to do that, it's important to put that there, because that helps raise the profile of the festival. Okay. Supporting documentation. Now, this is really, really, really important. And it's one of the main reasons why applications which are otherwise extremely good and clear are deemed ineligible on arrival in the Arts Office, is because they don't have the supporting documentation that's been requested. So I'd really recommend that you go to Section 5 of the guidelines, conditions, and then Section 7. So in the award guidelines. So first one is the budget. And sometimes people just think, oh, I don't need to do that at this stage, it's too early, or I can't do it. So what I would say, just to reassure you, that the budget that you would submit at this stage is a projected budget. It's like, here are the budget lines. Here are the costs we are anticipating, expenses we're anticipating. Here's the expenditure we're anticipating. But rest assured that everybody reading this and assessing it will understand that that this is not final. How could it be? So don't worry too much, as long as that it's realistic, it looks feasible, and it comes in under the 10,000 that for the activities that you're applying for this grant, it comes in under the 10,000, which is the absolute limit for this particular funding. So here we go. So this is the template that this award actually is asking you and is requiring you to fill out, because it makes it so much easier. It's for clarity, really, for the assessors. And so it's a very, it's a simple budget with your balancing your income, your projected income, your earned income, which is your box office and so on, and then against your expenditure on the actual artistic program of your festival. And so here we go. So the grant.
So just to give a bit of context to this.
Yeah, maybe Sheila, you might help me here. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So I use this as a music festival, let's say, for example, featuring local Wicklow artists performing. And so it's a festival that's grown from year on year. So the first year, the funding that was awarded or sought was €3,000, and they received an additional €2,000 from a department within the council. That could be under the festival award scheme that's often offered within local, within districts, for example. And this is 2023, excuse me. And so in 2023, this festival received €1,000 in box office earned income to support the which calculates to then €6,000. So that was the income that this festival received last year. And so and then we move into the expenditure, and the breakdown is as follows. So you have your artist, your musician fees, that came to €3,000. That's in alignment with what we've advised in the guidelines, that we want to see that this award is going to support artists and to support audiences accessing the arts and communities engaging in the arts. Within this particular festival, there was a sound engineer was engaged to support this concert series, and a photographer was engaged to document the event. So that big, wonderful photographs were there and available when it came to the reporting time. Marketing, in this instance was €1,000, and €700 is allowed within this within this €700 in equipment hire was sufficient for this particular concert and falls within the guidelines again. And then €300 was a contribution to the overall cost of the insurance. In this award, in this budget template, you're seeing contributions not only from the Arts Office, but from other departments, and you're seeing your ticket fees contributing to the overall costs. And so the next year then, in this example, this festival has made a decision to grow. They want to engage more audiences and more artists. And so they've asked for €5,000 this year instead. They're hoping also to receive a €1,000 increase from a department. And they're predicting that because of this growth in program, the growth in their box office will also increase here. This is then obviously reflected in the expenditure. So they're predicting that with this growth in program, their growth in musicians, it's also showing that there's potentially a need for additional support now for this festival in order to manage this growth in the program. So there's a fee there for a producer or a event manager fee. With that, obviously, the requirements for your engineer has gone up. PR in this instance has predicted to stay the same, but that may not be the case. And maybe in this instance, you want to invite an artist from outside the county to come and contribute. And so you wanted to make a contribution to their travel and costs. So, I mean, ultimately, what we're trying to glean is an understanding of what your plan is. Just like Helen said, that it's realistic. It's also very important for us to know if there's anyone else who's going to be contributing to the event or to the festival. That's of high value for us because it shows a commitment and investment by other departments. It doesn't necessarily have to just include other local authority departments. It could also include an Arts Council grant. It could be Creative Ireland, Creative Europe. There are any number of sources. When we go into the earned income, it's very plausible that maybe you receive sponsorship from a local business. That could be in kind. It's always a value to include that there. Or it could be that you're doing a GoFundMe perhaps to support a segment of your program. And so it's really a value for us to see that here. Sales, if you're a visual arts festival, it could be artworks or a contribution from the sale of artworks that you've agreed with your your artists, that could be included there, and any other earned income that we may not be able to predict or know. Um, this is very much, as I said before, editable. We're really, you'll see that the template has like baseline suggestions or prompts. But I purposely, in this situation, removed any of those administration costs that are included in the template, because obviously for the Arts Act award, we don't cover that as part of this funding mechanism. And so, yeah, that's a whistle stop. I'm sure Helen has loads to add.
Well, I think just to say that if you're itemizing in-kind income that you might get as a part, we come on to partnerships later, but you might get, say, as a partner with a venue or with another arts organization. If you're going to itemize your in-kind income there, you must also itemize it in your under the expenditure as well. So it's balanced, so that it cancels itself out, if you like, because otherwise it confuses the overall total figure. I think, you can see that this festival wants to grow. So they're sort of showing that with their extra Wicklow County Council money that they're projecting that they're going to get, they're going to spend more on the artistic program. I would say that from an assessor's point of view, given the cost of living crisis that we're in, you could probably project more expenditure on a couple of those items, because everything at the moment simply costs more, and the assessors will understand that. So you probably would have to spend more on, say, a photographer's fee than you did last year. Same with if you're going to hire a publicist for our marketing and PR person for 1,000 in 2023, their fees will have gone up. So don't forget that we're all living in this same world where everything has got terribly expensive. And if you're working with venues, they're dealing with energy bills going up and staff bills going up. So they're, just to bear in mind that I think anybody assessing applications for 2024 will know that the cost of producing a festival in 2024 is going to be inevitably higher. So just to factor that in. I think I would put under, I mean, there's a line at the very end of expenditure, other costs. I'd put a contingency line myself, just because, going back to my previous point, things sometimes end up costing more than you project, and you need to allow yourself, while coming in under the 10,000, need to allow yourself a tiny bit of leeway in all of those items, just because the nature of things cost more, or you end up with an unexpected expense and you think, oh my God, how are we going to do this? And you say, oh, luckily we have 700 in contingency in the budget, or whatever you think is appropriate percentage, 500, 700. I think that would be wise. So, and again, don't forget, everybody reading this will know that these are projected figures. But I think it's a very good sample. It's a very good sample of a budget for this award. And there's nothing. I don't think it's leaving out anything. Again, the artist fees will probably be higher for 2024, just because musicians, artists, they're all, as you know, all freelance. Everybody, people are at the moment, I think, increasing their fees, individual artists as well. So that's all I'd say. I think this is very clear, and as a template, it works well. And the main thing is that you keep it under the 10K.
And I suppose a question came in, which is relevant at this point, is can the can that include non-arts related income? Yes, if it's relevant to the application, I suppose, and if it's going to support and strengthen the application. Do you have any thoughts on that, Helen?
I would try and keep this as focused on the arts activity as you possibly can. Yeah, because I think we're looking, that 10K is what you're going for, and it could be a little confusing if you talk about extraneous, or sorry, other aspects of the festival that are not specified in the guidelines. So again, I would, I don't know, Sheila, I think I would recommend everyone refer to the guidelines about what this award actually covers. That's the key thing to keep reminding yourself.
Oh, I see what you mean. I suppose I interpreted that maybe as a sponsorship, coming from a company that is not arts related, and that it's of value to include that sponsorship. If
Oh
it's
no,
really
sponsorship.
relevant.
Sorry. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sponsorship should be included as projected income. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, but I may have misinterpreted that though. Ashley, do you have anything to add maybe to that?
Yeah, no, that's what it was. If there was income or sponsorship that had come in from a non-arts related organization, anything that's.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine because they're contributing to your program in some way. So it could be a shop or a local restaurant, say, or a hotel, and if you're lucky enough to get that kind of sponsorship, that is going straight into your income. So that's absolutely fine. Sorry, I hope I haven't confused everybody now.
No, it's good to clarify because your point is true and correct as well. You don't want to in any way give, misdirect people or for there to be any sense of lack of clarity. So it's great that we saw it in different ways, and that we could clarify that. So that's fine. Yeah, that's useful. Perfect. Okay. Are we okay with the budget? Should I go back to the form then again? Is that the way to do it, Helen, now or?
I think so, yeah. So we went off into more detail on the budget, but it's part of the the application form process. So let's go back to the form, Sheila, when you're ready. Yeah. Okay, we've done the budget, I think. Yeah, great. And oh yeah, so this box here with the link is to show you where in the application form you upload your supporting documentation. So that's a live link that you can click on to go to your laptop or your desktop and click on your file, whether it's the budget template or the documentation that we're going to look at now. And you click on it and it uploads into the application form. And you'll see it, you'll be reassured by seeing that the file will be visible to you, and you know that you've got it included. So compulsory. Okay, so we've talked about the budget. Now we're looking at the other compulsory documentation here. So the CV or biography of the professional practitioners groups to be involved. Now, I mean, I would suggest that you, the applicant, as the director or curator or producer of the festival, you include your own CV here. It's not just the artists that you're going to work with. It could be a traditional CV on 2 pages, or it could be a long, a biographical, a bio in a couple of paragraphs. But the assessors want to know about you. As the applicant, as the person who's going to produce this festival. They want to know your track record artistically, and also your track record in producing or presenting events. Have you done it before? Have you managed programs? Have you presented artistic work for an audience in another context? Or maybe you've been producing festivals for 15 years, and there'll be a whole range of different types of experience people applying for this. So your own CV is really important. And then the CVs are bios of the key artists. And again, if there are quite a lot of them, these can be brief. A couple of paragraphs for the key musicians, singers, dancers, theatre directors, writers, documentary makers, filmmakers, visual artists, whoever they are, or it could be a range of those. Put them all in one document, I'd suggest, it's easy, rather than, again, for the assessors opening up a gazillion documents. Just try and group those together into one, I would say. And then, if these are really well-known artists, you can be quite brief. If they're kind of emerging artists, you might want to give a little bit more information. Like, say you're going to say it's a new theatre company based in Wicklow, just say, and they're at an early stage. You might want to attach some quotes from reviews of their work, so that the assessors get a sense of the artistic quality. So it's the whole purpose of all of this is to show the artistic potential, the artistic quality, the track record, and the feasibility. These are all important. Again, you see, the important thing here is supply as relevant. So some of these things won't be relevant to your application. So, for example, if you go down to a copy of the festival's governance code, if you are a very new festival, you really won't have a governance code, because you won't have a board, etc. You won't have a chair and all of those things. So, again, the as relevant bit is important. Now, Sheila, is there a separate letter of support section here?
No, the letter of support can be added here as well.
Oh, it can be added here. Okay, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh. Yeah.
Okay, so then actually, sorry, under the last point here, under in supply as relevant, written any professional arts assistants or professional practitioners' involvement in your program. I think I would, under that, if I were applying, think letter of support.
Yes,
right?
That's exactly what that is. But I think what I'll do is I'll add in brackets letter of support there.
I think so. Yeah, just because I think I would stress both. I would stress from being an assessor how important the letters of support are. If you are saying that you've got junk ensemble, they could be touring or something, and they're going to present a piece as part of your festival in the autumn or whatever, and they are confirmed in your program, you need to see evidence of that. The assessor would need to see evidence of that. And that would be a letter from, say, Junk Ensemble to, say, I don't know, Blessington Performing Arts Festival. We are delighted, dear, your name, we are delighted to confirm our participation in your festival. We are going to present X work, and we have agreed on X arrangement with you about this, that the festival will undertake all publicity and marketing, and and even you should say, if you have the information, you should give the fee that you have that has been confirmed. So in other words, you're saying this is a definite agreement, and I have it in writing from Junk Ensemble, and here's the evidence. And that, again, is to reassure the assessors that you are a professional festival, that you know what you're doing, and that proper agreements are in place. Now, these are not you don't have to show a contract, because if you're a small festival, you don't need to be quite so formal. But it is important that you're kind of giving evidence to the Arts Office and the assessors that this is a confirmed engagement with these artists. And also, it's a great opportunity to get endorsements. So the letter of support, or say the letter of support is really involving a tiny bit of money, like €500, say, from Poetry Ireland for one of your events. On headed paper, to get a letter from the director of Poetry Ireland saying, your festival in Wicklow is, is so well programmed and managed, and we are delighted to support your exciting and innovative creative programming, whatever, get them to say nice things about your festival, and to say why they'd like to support, why Poetry Ireland would like to support this event. It gives a great vote of confidence that, yeah, oh wow, they got Poetry Ireland supporting them. It doesn't matter if the money is tiny. It's the endorsement by a national arts organization for your event that's very persuasive to the assessors. Again, they can see you went to the trouble of doing that. You contacted Poetry Ireland, you did all the back and forth, you told them what you're going to do. They said, this is good enough for us to want to be involved in. It's all very favorable. And if you're a festival that's maybe 6 or 7 years old, and you have either reviews or you have endorsements by some of your artists saying this was the best, I love my experience of the Blessington Arts Festival. I'm delighted that they're continuing to flourish. Whatever it is, get some endorsements from people who you've worked with in the past. And again, that's a great thing to see when you're assessing. You say, okay, this is a great festival. All these artists think very highly of it. They want to be involved in it. It's all about saying that your artistic ambitions are worth supporting. So that's where you would add that in your supporting documentation. So I would say pay some attention to that. It takes time. So you've got your deadline coming up. Get in touch with the people who you'd like to offer, to give you a letter of support. Give them plenty of time. A lot of people in, say, the national arts organizations, like, say, Dance Ireland, Literature Ireland, Poetry Ireland, they get a lot of requests for letters of support. Theatre companies like, I don't know, Fishamble, etc., who support other smaller festivals, give them plenty of time. Don't spring it on them 2 days. Don't spring it on them 2 days before your deadline, because that's just it's not practical, but also it's not a good way to get a good response from somebody, from the director of the Irish Film Institute, because he goes, oh God, why didn't they come to me 3 weeks ago or a month ago? It's like, I have another thing to do today. And it means that the letter you get won't be as good as it could be, because it'll be somebody just rattling off a letter saying, yeah, I'm delighted to support this event, blah, blah, blah. Whereas you want something more than that. You want somebody who's engaged with your festival or knows a bit about it, or you've taken the time to tell them about it. Because otherwise, if the letter is very obviously written in a rush at the last minute and is very formulaic, it actually doesn't add anything to your application. In fact, it almost detracts from it. Because it's like, it doesn't really say, I'm enthusiastic about this. It says, I'm doing this because I was asked to do it. So obviously the person you approach for a letter of support can say no, but and a clear no is better than a half-hearted letter. Because when you're assessing it, you can just tell that this was written at the 11th hour the night before by somebody who was very busy. You think, well, that's no use. So I'm really stressing this because the letters of support can add so much value to your application, but they're kind of out of your hands. They're in somebody else's hands. So do whatever you can to elicit the best possible supporting documentation you can. I think I've said enough about that. Okay, right. Okay, examples of work. Well, that's you're used. Everyone knows how to do that. So that's if you have images or video from your previous festival, if you have that to show, that would be great. Links to work. If you're bringing in a fabulous opera company, probably unlikely on your budget, but okay, a fabulous singer, and you have a link to their work, please add it. Make sure that the examples of work are the best possible examples. again, think about how is this going to add to my application? Make sure they're of technically high quality. If the assessors are going to download all these files and open them, and it looks like we get some fuzzy thing taken on a mobile and somebody on from the back of a bicycle or something, no, just don't do it, because you have to. Again, this is about putting your best foot forward and saying what we do is of very high quality. And sometimes we can let ourselves down technically with the supporting links, especially in film and visual art. You want to make sure that they really are easy to open and that they work. Okay, I'm probably stating the obvious there. Important groups, yes. Yeah, you will, if you are working with children and young people, if that's your area, you will know the importance of having your child protection policies, and to make sure that they're up to date. So that will, yeah, again, you see the acceptable files there. You can link to your most recent updated policy if you're working with children and young people. That's really important. But I think if you're working in that field, you'll know that already, because you're going to always be asked that by everybody. Now, it could be that you're not sure yet on this, whether you're working with children or young people. But going back to the boxes at the top, if you've ticked that you are going to be working with children and young people, you will be required to show this child protection form. And even if it turns out, as it comes closer to putting your program in place, oh, actually, we're not going to work with children and young people now. We've decided that we're going to focus on adults. And then don't worry, the Arts Office has seen your child protection form. It doesn't matter that you can change your mind. This is, you're not going to be tied to what you say about the program so early in the year, because things change. Okay. This is important that you read all this, that this is what's going to happen next, telling you that the applications will be scored by a panel, competitive scheme, that if you are successful in your application, that you will interact with the Wicklow Arts Office and County Council's office on social media and website, and that you will acknowledge the funding by Wicklow Arts Office. This is important.
Yes, and evidence of insurance is really important.
Yeah, yeah,
and it's a really important and significant part of this declaration. And you may not have it at the time, and we appreciate that, and that's totally understandable when you're applying. But we will be asking for it upon when you're being awarded, essentially. So it's just something to bear in mind, that it is a requirement for all festivals.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, going back to my point about cost of living, that insurance costs have gone up, as you'll all know. Did you say that, Sheila, just that insurance in terms of cost couldn't be more than 10% of?
Yes, exactly. Up until recently, our award didn't cover any insurance costs. Insurance costs couldn't be availed of under the scheme, but we've allowed this year for a 10% of the total awarded amount. So it's like a contribution towards the total figure.
Great. Yeah, that's very important. I think that would be very, very valuable this year.
Yes, going forward, indeed.
Yeah. Okay. And then just going back to the assessment process. After the assessment, you won't actually get detailed feedback. And I think what you'd have to bear in mind, that there will be a lot of interest in this award. It'll be highly competitive, and there's only so much budget allocated. There's only so much funding to go around. So it could be that your application is good, but you know, it just may not make the cut. And that's always really disappointing. You know, so I know this myself. I know from having applied for increases, often you don't get the increase, you get a standstill repeat grant, you know, and you just say, okay, well, I'll have to live with that. And you have to adjust your projected program or your aspirational program. You have to return and you know, fiddle with your budget and say, okay, but you know, we still work with what we've got, which is kind of part of the art and craft of producing festivals, is having to be very, very flexible and adaptable, as you all know, I'm sure. So when you sign, keep saying sign, when you tick on this declaration, and then if you're not finished working on your form, or you want time to think and go back, just save your draft. You can do that and revisit it. I would recommend that, actually, taking a day away from it, coming back, checking everything, particularly all the supporting documentation, your budget template. Yeah, don't do this in a rush, I would say. Start a draft of it at least a week, if not 10 days before your application is due. Set it aside, think about it, think about what's missing. Don't do it the day before, because you're going to leave something out. It's just human. You're going to forget something. So start working on it as soon as you can. Start working on gathering the supporting documentation, thinking about what supporting documentation would really serve your application, contacting those people, gathering the reviews, gathering the videos. It all takes time. It's really, you know, it's about thinking about the timeline. It's almost thinking about this application the way you would think about a project plan, and knowing, like, a week before, I need everything. I need all the supporting documentation. And then you can focus on rewriting it and refining it. And I would suggest uploading your form, submitting it, not the day before, but 2 days before, just in case there's any technical problem on either side. Should I say that, Sheila? Because
thank you. No, thank you.
I'm not saying the Arts Office website will crash or anything like that, but you know.
No, well, we've had a couple of occurrences where people have hit submit at 4 p.m. on the dot on the day of the deadline, and obviously their application doesn't get through. So yeah,
no,
if you can admit
it's
bittersweet, especially when you put all that work in, and ultimately our hands are tied, because it's, you know, it's an automated online transparent system. Do you know what I mean? So it's your heart is broken for people, but there's nothing we can do. So as you say, submit early if you can. And I suppose one last thing to say to our group here is that I am offering, or the Arts Office is offering, applicant support. So if any of you, this is open to not only artists and communities, it's open to festivals as well. So if you have any follow-up questions, or if you have some, you know, questions that need a little bit more time, feel free to reach out to me and we can arrange a time. I just think it'd be really of value to certainly new festivals, if they're embarking on a new festival this year, that could be really helpful. So just to flag that to everyone. And some of you may have my email address already, but if in doubt, you have the wao@wicklowcoco.ie, or my email address is stewart, so STEWART @wicklowcoco.ie. So you can get me on either. But yes, Helen, I think it would be great to see if there's any questions that anyone may have. I think, did you say there was one in the chat?
Yeah, there's one in the chat about entertainment.
Yes.
Hang on a second.
Yeah, sorry, that was just me, Helen. I was just wondering, hi, from Yarn Storytelling Festival. It was just, and thank you both to yourself and Sheila. That was really, really insightful and very useful session. So thank you. It's just specifically about guest artists and whether we can include you know, their lunch or their dinner or something. I'm not talking about bringing them for loads of pints or something, but just when I saw in the guidelines, no entertainment, I just wanted a clarification on whether, you know,
Absolutely.
can
So
pay for their lunch or something
you
and
can,
include that in the
you
budget,
can,
you know,
yeah,
the
absolutely. You can
subsistence
include
part.
subsistence and lunches. Absolutely. It's just that I suppose entertainment, what we mean by that is alcohol or a
Okay,
party or,
okay,
something like that,
yeah,
that it wouldn't cover those
that's
costs.
fine.
But no, subsistence and lunches and stuff like that. Absolutely. Yeah. And general kind of base level
Okay,
catering. Yeah, is fine.
that's great.
Like teas and
Okay, thanks
coffees.
for clarifying that. Thank you.
No, that's
Yeah, I
absolutely
think that's
fair enough.
it's important for the artists to feel
Yeah,
that they're being looked after by the
of
festival,
course.
isn't it? So yeah, I think, within reason, it's, of course, because they're traveling, they've got, their artist fee, but I think certainly you should be able to look after them, but
Yeah,
without
I agree, and I think sometimes you could add a per diem, but it's nicer to actually, when you welcome somebody to your place, to bring them for lunch and invite them for lunch, than to say you have to pay for that yourself because I've included a per diem in your fee.
I
It's
know it seems a bit inhospitable, I
It
think.
yeah,
does.
yeah,
It does.
Yeah.
I agree completely. Absolutely. There's a lot, and there's a lot to be said about feeling a part of a community, and that incites that, isn't it? There's nothing quite
yeah.
like a communal lunch with everyone together after a big event of some sort. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
no problem. If some of the event organizers are artists themselves, can their workshop event fees be included, or will they be excluded in terms of being organizers? Um, Ashley, are you open to maybe clarifying a little bit more exactly what you mean? Is that could you, is that okay? Would you share a little bit more on that so I can answer as
Um,
best I can? That's all.
yeah, how do I clarify that anymore? So, yeah, I suppose taking myself an example, myself and another girl who organizes a festival, we're artists, and then I would do some of the work. I have done some of the workshops in the past or things like that. So just in terms of clarifying the roles, an event curator stroke
Yeah,
organizer versus an artist. Sometimes there's crossovers in that. So it was just in terms of budgets, um, and naming artists, for example.
yeah,
I don't know
absolutely.
if that's clarified it
No,
anymore.
you have absolutely clarified. And yes, absolutely, as the curator or the programmer or the producer of the festival, it's totally reasonable that you would seek a fee from funding. Absolutely. So if I've understood you correctly, and it's inevitable as an artist that there be an overlap between you producing and curating and potentially contributing in some shape or form.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just
I think for the purposes of your own artistic involvement, either in performance or that you view that as an artist's fee. So you separate you as an artist with an artist's fee, and you as a curator or producer, and just and just to be really, really clear about that, not to conflate the two.
yeah, no, completely. I just wanted to check if that would have been, an issue or not allowed per se in terms of
No, that's fine. That's fine. As long as you're not performing in every single event, which
no.
which would look a bit odd.
I wouldn't be a great organizer then, would it?
I think we'd call that vanity programming.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's just like getting those. That's totally reasonable, I think.
Yeah. And just actually while I've got my mic off, there's one other question. The festival I've organized before, it's with a charity, an environmental charity, and they have a small part of land that we like that's close to Wicklow. It's literally on the Wicklow-Carlow border, and that we have done sort of some of the events there. Would that, it's not quite Wicklow, but it's literally on the border. It's a charity that's a land trust, so they have pockets of land around the country. There's none in Wicklow, but it's on the Wicklow-Carlow border. So part of it's about bringing art and ecology together. So inviting people to the land and doing some events on that space is quite integral. So I'm just wondering on that.
Yeah, I may have to seek some guidance on that and clarification on that if that's okay, Ashley, and I can come back to you.
Yeah.
I suppose in the guidelines it's quite explicit that it should take place in Wicklow, but it depends on where the boundary line. You may still be in Wicklow, so let me explore that and I'll come back to you on that, if that's okay, and we might
Yeah,
have a
perfect.
further chat about it. Or actually, indeed, actually, if you're open and willing, could you send me a link to the location, and I'll seek some clarification from Jenny in that respect, or the arts officer.
Perfect.
Yeah, because it's not as simple as a yes or no, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where exactly it is, and I don't know what the boundary line, and is it that most of it is in Kildare, or is, we'll explore that in more detail for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
No worries at all. Any more
It
questions?
sounds like a very interesting project.
It does. I'm so intrigued. That's why my mind is ticking over, going, oh, that's great. Ecology, climate, arts. It sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
Are there other niggling things that we didn't get to that could be? I hope it's a little clearer, less off-putting, or if it was off-putting. Anything else?
Perfect.
I'm just checking the chat here. Sorry.
Aoife, we just had someone to say thank you, and thank you very much for being here. We covered an awful lot, and I do appreciate that as well. There was a lot covered in that, so it may be a case of having some time to digest, and maybe for me to come back to a couple of you as well for any further clarifications.
Yeah, and again, I would stress, do study the guidelines.
Yes.
Because sometimes mistakes are made just by not fully going, oh, I didn't realize, oh, I never read that bit. So just to be sure, again, as early on as you can, read the guidelines.
Exactly. And don't hesitate to reach out if anyone would like some application support as well. That's a service that's available to everyone. And it would be great to meet you and to get to know what you're working on a little bit better, because it's not only to a benefit to hopefully you guys as artists or festivals, it's also a huge benefit to us as the arts office as well, to connect with you and hear what it is that you're working on, and maybe there's something that we need to work on ourselves in respect of the guidelines or the funding. So it's an invaluable interaction, let's say. Okay.
Yeah, Sheila, it's great you're offering that service in Wicklow. It's really important, that one-to-one, because you can get stuck, and it could be just a quick call, from
Exactly.
chat with you, and you go, oh, okay, I'm all right, I'm on the right track.
Exactly.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
Or a question could be perceived in a slightly different way than what we meant, and a short conversation can help so much. So yeah, I mean, I think with that, I will say thank you to you all for joining us. Oh, we are bang on schedule, Helen. It's brilliant. Thank you everyone for joining us, and very best of luck with your applications, and hopefully I'll hear from you soon.